So Ramjoo's Diaries, Part 2, Erngauern and Tours, April 1923 to January 1925. Chapter 8, Ramjoo and Doctor at Lonavala, April 1, 1923. Goodbye to the Monzel. After leaving the Monzel and the remaining very few members there with Baba last night, I arrived at Lonavala early this morning with Doctor to stay here for about a month. Save for a few stray visits, mostly on duty, this was the first time since joining Baba in May last, 11 months, that I felt at home, as if on a long vacation after finishing the term in a college. Rightly so, now that it has long since been decided by Baba to leave the Monzel for good in a few days. And after Rustam's marriage, which is to take place in the next month, to stay at Erngauern near Ahmednagar under quite changed conditions, with a limited number of members only who will be willing to undergo the more difficult next term. Whatever be the future program, the strict disciplinary period of staying in the Monzel under almost a strict routine, quite aloof from the external world, was at an end, with the prospect of a very active and lively future. So much so that already, as per Doctor's pun on the name Erngauern, it is generally referred to as Heirengaun by the Mondali on account of hardships and difficulties that are predicted by Baba to fall to the lot of those who will be with him at the time. Hereafter, members sent to the respective homes or out of Bombay are to observe the following. Special orders. 1, 2, 3, 4 to avoid fish, flesh, and eggs, and 7. One and 9, eating less than full satisfaction is prohibited. 13, 14, 18, 19, and 25. April 5, 1923, Shivapur Festival. Myself with Doctor left Lonavala by the Madras Express for the Shivapur Festival, to which we had been invited by Munshi with Baba's consent. After joining the party at Pune, we reached Shivapur by a big motor lorry and put up in the tents pitched there for the purpose. The meeting together of one-time old friends since a very long time, especially that of myself and Doctor with Usman and Asar, presented an unusual and unexpected scene, considering the very wide gulf of difference of opinion between us and our quite opposite ideas regarding Baba. In spite of Munshi's link presence encouraging tolerance between the two parties, the atmosphere was unmistakably foreign for such a gathering. As usual, good foods and music arrangements were made. Mayor, could you unmute and continue reading, please?
Should I start?
Yes, please.
Jai Baba. Changed outlook. Being Friday, we all had a nice cold bath under the natural spring water falls nearby and performed the prayers in the special canopy, which is put up for the purpose near the shrine. As usual, the huge canopy proved too small to hold the thousands of people who were there for prayers. This gaily clad crowd around the canopy, observing the prayers in the most dignified and orderly manner, presented the most imposing sight of the greatest festival near Pune. Near Pune. After that, we paid our respect at the court of Kamarali Shah Darwish, on whose anniversary the festival takes place, attracting thousands of people from Pune and the surrounding country. The festival affords a jolly good time every year for an annual enjoyment, and I simply used to look forward to this occasion in the past, but this time the excellent singing and the general holiday surrounding did not quite make me feel real enjoyment in the situation on account of change in the diet of real enjoyment brought about by Baba's company. Not that my tongue did not feel the taste of the food, or my ears did not relish the singing as well as the general surrounding of enjoyment did. Visit, sorry, it's gone very high. It's gone.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's gone very
better?
high. Okay, okay. Ramjoo and the Ramjoo and the doctor at Lonavala not attracted me. No, there was no end to the desire of the seldom satisfied mind as usual, but the feeling of vacancy ever reminded the incomplete of, of the show. After the prayers, people began to return to their respective places, and consequently, the throng in the bazaar was considerably thinned by the evening. Again, singing took place, but came to an end very early because of the poor light arrangement. April 12, 1923, visit to Haji Malang Shah. According to his letter, I joined Kak with doctor at Lonavala en route to Kalyan under Baba's instructions. Baba and a few members were going to Haji Malang Shah's shrine. The following day, we arrived at Kalyan at about 6:30 p.m., where Slamson met us, and he had come in advance to arrange for carriages, etc. There was news from Slamson about the preparation of food for leaving the manzil soon, such as clearing away the patrons, forming separate rooms, and turning back the bungalow as it was before, with a huge halls and big bedrooms subject to the order of not eating anything outside. We had to satisfy ourselves with milk, etc. for supper, after which we rested at the station. Rested at the station awaiting Baba's arrival, who came with a party from Bombay at midnight, when we all went to sleep. April 13, 1923, meals without water. We could hardly manage a good nap in the din of the station. By 3 a.m., when we all got up and began to prepare to start for Haji Malang Shah's shrine, as per our vow, which Baba had made us take the last time, we had returned back from only going halfway. See, October 30th, 1922. After half an hour, we started by the carriages, reaching the foot of the hill by dawn, where Baba waited in company of Sadashiv, while the rest were ordered to go to the shrine as fast as possible, and after paying respect and putting flowers to return in the same way. We began to climb the hill as fast as our legs would carry, reaching the shrine in an hour or so. Perched, it's gone red. Perched on the majestic heights is the beautiful tomb of one of the greatest perfect masters in and around Bombay too, which paid our respects and laid the pretty flower sheets. Ramjoo's diary, Arangao and Toos. On the grave that we had brought with us after finishing the Muslim prayer, we started back racing through the descent, taking a hurried glance at the towering point called Bala Hansar, the highest peak of the hill, which has a small tank and a few trees there. As per Baba's instructions, we joined him at the foot of the hill within 2.5 hours of our departure, at the cost of parched lips and terribly acute thirst. Baba distributed the sweets, bread, etc. to the party, but prohibited to us all from taking water, as we said the water available was not good. Hence, it made a novel meal without water, gulped down the dry throat with an effort. Soon after the meals, we took to the carriages to return to Kalyan. The rough surface of the road and the rickety carriages going under the blazing hot sun added fuel to the fire of thirst that was ragging hot within. It was with the greatest sigh of relief that that a carriage journey of 14 miles came to an end at about 2 p.m. near the station. Baba took us all in the restaurant nearby and allowed us to take a soda or two for a drink. On the pleasure of sipping the bubbling water, the first gulp proved like water poured on a red hot piece of iron. In addition to this, a good many watermelons were also distributed. All this could only do partial justice to the greatest thirst, which in my case kept on till late in the evening. Baba and party left for Bombay by a local train, while myself and doctor returned to Lonavala by the evening express.
Thanks, Mayor.
Welcome.
Elizabeth, are you available? Or Betty, are you available?
Baba left April 20th, 1923. Baba left Bombay. Having come to know of Baba's passing Pune en route to Ahmednagar today, I had come to Pune the previous evening to manage the morning duty, and as soon as it was completed, I came to the station. After half an hour, the train steamed in. All the Kasbah party, Baba's friends and relatives, flocked to the carriage containing the distinguished passenger and party. Baba was profusely garlanded and tea was served to the mandali. An interesting hour passed in exchanging and discussing the topics of the day. The important event since our leaving the Manzil was the disposal of the mill, which, as a strange coincidence, was sold off a few hours before Baba and Mandali left Bombay last night. The compartment was full with luggage, as everything had been removed from the Manzil, and the bungalow had been handed over in charge of the owner. Of course, the small outbuilding behind the bungalow is retained for the bookwork as the Circle and Company's office. At about 7:30 a.m., the train started and we all parted. I returned to Lonavala the same evening. May 5th, 1923. Stay at home. Subject to Baba's final instructions received by post, myself and doctor have decided to start for Ahmednagar tomorrow by the morning train. But as the departure time of the train from Lonavala coincided with that of my prayers, I left Lonavala this evening to pass the night at Pune. My stay for a month was passed very nicely as Lonavala season was in full swing. After a year of complete aloofness from the ordinary workaday life, the change of coming in contact with familiar sights and sounds put more life in it. Especially the last few days were passed more interestedly in selling the Marathi edition of Sri Maharaj's life, which was just out. On the whole, my long stay and the full discharge of my household and social duties at home and in society allayed the anxiety of friends and relatives for the immediate present. As to my duty toward family life, people misunderstood at times, and it is no fault of theirs, as generally the man of the world misunderstands the reason of its existence, or to be more correct, deceives himself in order to satisfy his temporary desires. As to the real duty towards family life, religion, and God, and misunderstands the words and actions of those striving for spiritual end. For example, some time ago, the Gujarati weekly paper warned the Parsis against going to Sri Upasni Maharaj. As far as I remember correctly, in the course of his remarks on this article, Baba said, to be rid of sanskaric bonds, impressions which determine one's desires and actions in the present lifetime, and freed of the illusions of ignorance are the first essentials of true spiritual awakening. Likewise, renunciation was the watchword of all the greatest teachers of the world, Muhammad and Zoroaster, Christ and Krishna alike, though in different wordings. But people take it only literally. The real spirit of the word is not understood. It is the mind, the real innermost man that must renounce. That is the root from where all desires spring. The mind must become poor, empty, and renunciation of the highest order is attained. When the mind is spiritually enlightened and is fortunate enough to retain the ordinary consciousness, the performing of the sanskaric duties is renunciation too, as in that state. Whatever actions are taken, they are taken for the benefit and advancement of others. Anybody else, or shall I go on?
Oh yeah, go on for another few minutes, please, Beth.
First stay at Arangown, May 6, 1923, the new era. Having finished the prayers, I came to the station and joined Doctor with bag and baggage in accordance with Baba's orders. The train steamed out of the Pune station at about 7:30, reaching Ahmednagar at 12:30. We took carriages and went direct to Rustam's house, finding the same buzzing with the marriage preparations. We came to know that since Baba's arrival, he has been on the move from the depot, the old military depot buildings perched by Khan Sahib in Nagar, where he and party put up for a few days. Baba suddenly walked away with the party to Happy Valley, a distance of nearly 14 miles, on April 1st, where he stayed till the 3rd. Here, Sri Maharaj's birthday was observed on the 3rd. when the Mandali had to keep a fast for 24 hours while hundreds of people were fed on the day. After a special arti, Baba and party started from Happy Valley at 11:30 p.m. at breakneck speed, returning to the depot at 2 a.m. in the night. Again, under the excuse that a certain number of Rustam's family did not properly follow his instructions, Baba has since, day before yesterday, gone to Arangown. No wonder that in face of this hide-and-seek movement of Baba, together with the marriage arrangements, Rustam seemed very much perturbed. Within a quarter of an hour, a carriage was procured and we started towards Arangown after taking some refreshment. Arangown is a small village 6 miles from Ahmednagar at a higher altitude with the best climate in the whole district. For this reason, a big military camp was established here in wartime over extensive grounds for miles, which has been purchased by Khan Sahib, Adi and Rustam's father, Gulmai's husband, from the government. As we neared the camp, Baba and party came to our view, washing clothes and bathing at a well by the road a little further on. We got down and dismissed the carriage, but we could not approach further as word came from Baba that we were to go and wait in the building further on the right, which was the post office of the military camp in those days. It is a hall about 20 by 12 feet with strong stone walls without plaster, half a dozen windows, and a plain deal wood door. The front side is adorned with a veranda. In spite of it all, it is the best building among the lot of dilapidated mud huts adjoining the same. Here we found the beddings of Baba and Mandali spread side by side in a line, the latter also having a glass and a plate near their respective beddings, together with their clothes. We passed the time conversing with Munshi, who was here to see Baba, till the time the Mandali returned from finishing the general wash-up. I was no longer under the impression that Hirani were to commence after the marriage. The signs were only too visible to be missed that the new era had dawned long since in right earnest. Most of the Mandali had blistered feet and bruised hands, the former being the result of the midnight racing from Happy Valley to the depot, and the latter as the result of removing some hundreds of big Shahabad stone slabs from the mess building the previous day. They greeted us with a smile as if enjoying the change, though a very rough one from the monotonous Manzil life.
Thanks, Betty. Ernie, could you unmute?
Give me just a second. After supper, at the usual time of going to bed, Baba ordered us to go and sleep near the well, as was done by him and the Mandalay the first night of their arrival, when a snake was killed on that spot. Myself, Dr. and Vajif Dar, also a newcomer, spread our beddings near the wall of the well for protection from the great windstorm common to Arangown. Baba's presence in the near vicinity allayed the snake fear, but the wind blowing like the very devil troubled us too much. However, somehow sleep reigned supreme. May 7th, 1923, Arangown. Since some time past, almost every day witnesses a change in the daily program. By now, daily baths and prayers have ceased. Everyone is to wash his clothes himself instead of giving it to the washerman as heretofore. All have been given a plate and glass, each for meals and other necessities, to be cleaned and kept in charge individually. Only 3 shirts, 3 pants, and some necessary garments, such as coat, towel, etc., have been deposited in a room in the depot in the respective trunks. Further, Baba discussed finally the future plan of action with myself and Doctor, that in addition to the above changes, the surrounding grounds will be cultivated, and all shall have to work as common laborers or to do some service at Nagar, with the prospect of going and returning about 12 miles daily on cycle if we remained with him. Otherwise, Baba offered a second choice of staying at Bombay, Pune, or Lonavala, and following his instructions there, same as is the case with almost 3/4 of the Mandalay, including the chief important members of the circle, like Sadishiv and Kak. Baba said that to be externally far away or to be nearby does not make any change in the spiritual working. So long as one followed and remained under his instructions, he was with him. I decided to stay with Baba as I preferred it under the circumstances, though I believe the mind of a perfect master to be universal and thus omnipresent. May 8th, 1923, amateur cook. Baba and ourselves, the whole party, came to Nagar to attend the marriage this morning. Baba put up in the solitary room on the top floor of Sarosh Manzil, the residence of Rustam, while we were ordered to go to the depot, recently named Kushra quarters, and give whatever assistance required in the arrangements under Ramjee's instructions. The freshly whitewashed fine compound wall recently built round the newly painted buildings and the well-kept spacious grounds of Kushra quarters, with the daily decorated giant canopy where the marriage ceremony is to take place, just nearing completion on one side, gave the old and rustic depot a magical change of color. Sometime after our arrival, Ramjoo found some work for us, that of helping the cooks in trimming and cutting the vegetables. God knows how the worthy got the idea of extending our help in such a fashion, save that the old man might be pulling the strings from the Sarosh Manzil to have us learn a practical lesson in self-humiliation. Otherwise, we could have helped him in 100 other ways, befitting our positions. It was with an effort that I took to the work, and allaying the strong feeling of revolt against this order of being taught the task of humiliation in the presence of hundreds of guests. Besides the mental pinch, the work proved very unhealthy for my hands and fingers, unaccustomed to such rough work, leaving the telltale marks and cuts. Most of the Mandalay shared the same fate, while Jal topped the list by cutting his finger when cutting a potato on a machine. Snuff was afterwards applied to the cut by Kushra, Sarosh's father. May 9th, 1923. Neither host nor guest. Today being the marriage day, the guests were pouring in from all quarters. Almost all of our Mandalay, the Kashba party, Kak, etc., had arrived to witness the wedding of one of the important members of the Mandalay, serving as manager of the circling company since leaving the mantle. This was the first time that most of the Mandalay had come together. And save for this engagement of exchanging news and views, the marriage on the whole proved a very tiring and awkward business for most of us. Considering us to be Baba's Mandalay, the family members did not pay attention to us as regards the formalities. And this was the reason that, though being shocked at seeing us mixed with the cooks, Khan Sahib did not stop us from so doing the other day, save for the remark that there was really no need for us to help the cooks. Our workaday dress, the sea of foreign faces around us, and the Parsi customs new to us did not encourage us in feeling like hosts. Hence, as far as it did not concern us personally, the marriage was a very successful affair. In the evening, the marriage ceremony took place on the elevated platform in the center of the tent, packed full with distinguished guests, Europeans and Indians both. A European band provided fitting music for the occasion, while excellent refreshment arrangements were made. The happy event, as far as it concerned the public, terminated after a group photo was taken of the guests with the new couple. After supper, ghazal singing by Yasin, who had been specially brought from Bombay, took place before Baba, the Mandalay, and a few members of the family privately in the Sarosh Manzil. The singing continued till late in the night, affording a few hours of divine entertainment, making up to a certain extent for the feeling of being at sea for the last 2 days. Baba had, of course, all the time kept himself in the Sarosh Manzil, the Mandalay's presence reminding the people who knew of his presence nearby. May 10th, 1923, the remaining few. After ghazal singing took place this afternoon, of course, privately as before. In the evening, Kak and Kasbah party left for Bombay and Pune respectively. The latter had a separate interview with Baba before their departure. Apparently, Kasbah party seems to prefer to stay at Pune, while as for Kak, it was since long been decided for him to stay in Bombay with Munshi and Shahib Sahib. Doctor, too, seems to be a guest for a day or two more. In the same way, the question for Rustam is also for some time now to be dropped. Thus, as foretold by Baba and the Manzil, only a limited number of members remain to take part in the external movements of Baba for the present. Messrs. Gustaji, Baramji, Adi, myself, Slamson, Barsop, Babu, Baldal, Pindu, Nervous, Masaji, Padri, and Jal.
Thank you so much, Ernie. Mahu, could you unmute? Continue.
Sure. So this is on May 11, 1923. The title is Nowhere. Some dispute arose in the family, and under this excuse, Baba suddenly asked us to join him going away just after we had finished breakfast. We started walking aimlessly towards the station. A little further on, we took to a footpath and after a laborious tramping across a dry, sandy bed of the Sinha River, we came upon an old graveyard, quite a solitary spot. But the plan had hardly settled when we were again on the move further on, unintentionally reaching the station's shelter for travelers maintained by the local board. Here it was finally decided to put up until a plan was formed for future settlement, as Baba said he was no longer going to stay at Arangan. Some vegetable, where am I? I lost it. Some vegetable was made to be prepared and bread procured from the small hotel nearby for dinner. After the meals, Ramjoo went to Arangan and brought back a cart full of things, including firewood from there by the evening, which was all deposited in the rooms that we had rented. Behramji and Gustaji have been ordered to take food once at about 11 a.m. and drink water only between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. daily. Baba decided finally for Doctor to stay at Bombay. He left after supper with Barso, who has also been allowed to go to Pune for a few days, according to Barsov's words, to improve his weak health. And when we move on to May 12, 1923, title is Coolies. Only the clothes, beddings, and a few of the most necessary things having been retained, the rest of the cartload of goods brought back from Arangan yesterday was made into about half a dozen bundles, and we were ordered by Baba to carry the same to the depot, about 1 or 2 miles distance from the travelers' shelter, to be deposited there with our trunks, etc. Adding fuel to the fire of resentment, one of the heaviest bundles chanced to fall to my lot, which made me stagger with weight at the first lift. I felt very awkward mentally because of the big gunny bag on my shoulders. Trudging along the main station road towards the city in company with the rest of the party. The top weight handicap began to tell tale before we had hardly crossed the city gate, making me take the sack on my head. The pain further made me indifferent now towards what people would think about us, as we were too well dressed to be taken for coolies, and this accounted for the attention that we seemed to receive from the passers-by. So much so that I passed through Kursaji Street and Nalband's cart, as it was the shortest route, but which I had first intended to avoid on account of a few friends and acquaintances of mine staying near there. Sorry, Now, this is May 13, 1923. The title is settled again. After many entreaties by Khan Sahib, who had come to see Baba in the travelers' shelter, it was after all decided to put up at Erangan as per the first plan. Consequently, we again found ourselves in the rural area of Erangan by the evening and took shelter in the post office. All the bag and baggage was brought back too. It has now been fixed to repair and bring round the mess building on the whole to its best, and then to put up there. This building is the second best after the post office, but far bigger among the lot of remaining mud huts. In the camp days, it was the officers' mess quarters. This is an Arabic. In appearance, it is a neat, fine bungalow with two big spacious halls with bedrooms attached, with bathrooms on both of the wings and verandas on all sides, fitted with shahabad stones as flooring and Bangalore tiles on the roof. But in fact, it is a mere excuse for a building being built in mud by the wartime contractors and lying uncared for since long, requiring complete overhauling. The big farms all round the mess have been settled to be cultivated by the well water after fixing a pump there in place of the old pump, which is already fixed, but is quite out of the order. Out of order. For the time being, we have to take out water with a bucket and carry the same ourselves to the post office, as the well is situated by the main public road about 50 yards from the mess and post office both. Thus we had, for the time being, again settled at the place, busy with the thoughts of the prospect of a new experience of working as laborers on the field from the morn to eve. Now we move on to May 17, 1923. Title is Hard Labor. And for the last 4 days, we have been working in right earnest in cleansing, plastering, and doing the other necessary repairs to the mess quarters. No sooner is the breakfast of just tea and bread finished at 7 o'clock. We get at the respective duties allotted to each by turns, that of drawing water from the well, supplying the same to the mess, providing mud near the works from a distance, preparing mud, plastering the walls, and assisting the amateur mason, of course, one of us, in his work till late in the evening, with an hour recess for meals in the afternoon. The meals consist of usual dull rice in the afternoon and bread and potatoes in the evening, while Baba is taking only some liquid food since long. Last came the whitewashing of the building, and what a mess we made by applying, or to be more exact, sprinkling, stamping, and painting the walls. walls white with lime and handmade brushes. The work proved very painful to ourselves, as the lime had worked havoc with the same, turning the palms and fingers as if boiled in tea. In spite of applying oil and drying the same on fire, they remained raw and bore signs of the havoc for days. However, we turned the dirty, dilapidated buildings, dilapidated buildings full of cobwebs into a snow white place, clean as a new pin at, of course, a dear price. At of course, a dear price. In addition to the usual plain food, plain living, and being quite cut off from the world at large, this work, like a regular laborer, looked as if a certain period of simple imprisonment was changed into that of hard labor.
Thanks, Wahu. Any of the people off of video want to read? Prakash, Vijay, Jay, or Ralph?
I can read.
Oh, please do then.
Ramzan festival. Am I okay? Ramzan
Yep.
festival?
Correct.
Yeah. I passed this gay festival in the Arangaon way. This gay means joyous festival, not that. In the Arangaon way too, as after a cold bath and change of hand-washed linen, I started walking from Arangaon to Nagar for attending the festival prayers there. After seeing some friends and having the usual sweets, I performed the prayers at about 9 a.m. After which, according to instructions, I went to Bapu Sahib's tomb for prayers and placed a flower sheet on the grave. Being Friday, I had to wait till late in the afternoon for Friday prayers, after which I returned to Arangaon at about 3 p.m. with an acute thirst. Having walked about 12 miles in all, the last 6 miles in the blazing hot sun of May, thus the festival proved a very warm time for me. May 22nd, 1923. Baba is scared by a snake. The mess quarters were quite ready for occupation today. Shri Maharaja's photos placed and incense burned in the small room on the right wing, which is to be occupied by Baba in the morning. After supper, we removed into the new premises and made ourselves at home by spreading the respective beddings on the allotted places in the hall. With a feeling of relief and satisfaction, we were preparing for sleep at the successful termination of the troublesome task of fixing up for good when the tide turned. Gustaji felt some piece of stone lying under his bedding. So he turned the same for extricating it. When it was found to be a small snake, is snugly coiled, is enjoying the warmth of the bedding. How it came to be there is a mystery, because at the time of cleansing the premises, which were in the most dilapidated state, no such thing ever came to our view. While now, when not only the whole building is spiked and span, but the surrounding land is also clean to an extent, crowned with the fact that the bedding has just been spread after sweeping the room with the respective members sitting over them. A snake is found coiled right in the center of the bedding. Baba ordered us all to remove to the post office as if really scared of the snake, and to such uh, to such a great extent that he there and then decided to bid goodbye to Arangaon, and not only to leave the Ahmednagar district or the whole presidency, but the whole of India for Persia, just because of snakes. I wonder what he meant by snakes. Thus, the much talked of stay at Arangaon seemed to end very soon now.
Please continue, Vijay.
Pardon me?
Could you continue reading, please?
Yeah. First tour North India, May 23rd, 1923. Preparing for the tour. It being decided to tour the north of India and visit Karachi before leaving for Persia. The whole day was passed in discussions and preparations. Quick steps were taken to stop the purchase of the bullocks for the proposed farming program and the delivery of another pump from the depot. In spite of that, the pump was found to be on the way towards Arangaon, and under orders, I made the pump laden cart return to the depot from the midway. The pains that Rustam had taken in loading the pump in the cart after overhauling the same in order to put it on into working order had apparently been wasted, to the humorous chagrin of that worthy. May 25th, 1923. The tour. Everything was cleared from Arangaon, save for the necessary articles required on the journey and the respective beddings. All articles were dispatched to our present headquarters in our room in the depot. After that, we all went to the station, walking along the railway lines at about 10:30 a.m. Oh. With a hearty send-off by the throng of Baba's followers present at the station, we left Ahmednagar at 12:30 in the afternoon, reaching Manmad by the evening at Ankai, the last station before Manmad, where for some distance the Nizam's meter gauge railway runs along that of GIP. An interesting sight came to view. The Hyderabad mail, a beautiful toy of a train, was trying to its utmost to keep pace with ours, which provided engaging amusement. May 27, 1923. Agra. The whole day yesterday was passed in the train. The only important sight coming to our view was that of the famous Sachi Stupa, one of the most ancient and interesting Buddhist relics in India. The huge dome-like form of the actual shrine, with the giant carved massive stone rail surrounding the same, could be clearly seen from the train, as it is situated on the ridge of a small hill about half a mile from the Sachi station. Early this morning, we got down at Agra. Being quite new to the place, we underwent considerable inconvenience. The quaint way of our handling our language ourselves, in spite of presenting an appearance of a well-off touring party, lies incensed the station coolies Consequently, we had to carry the luggage round about and over the station overbridge to the opposite platform. Because the station master stopped us from crossing the lines at the instance of the enraged coolies, this considerably increased. Consequently, we had to carry the luggage round about and over the station overbridge to the opposite platform. Because the station master stopped us from crossing the lines at the instance of the enraged coolies, this considerably increased the already awkward as well as painful task of handling the heavy luggage, which besides our own belongings, comprised about 3 or 4 steel trunks, big holdalls, and beddings of Sarosh, Gulmai, Pilamai, Masaji, and children, who also accompany us. Again, the conveyance question occupied about an hour in coming to a settlement with the carriage drivers. Last but not least was the fear of rival hotel agents buzzing with the reputation of the advantages and disadvantages of each other's hotels, with the persistence of a fly that once to fly that once resolved to occupy the tip of the nose. But Baba soon put an end to the dispute by putting up in the Empress Hotel. I see. Empress Hotel situated between the city and the station. After taking tea, we started in the hired carriages, sightseeing the city, which is thick with beautiful buildings, the narrow but finally paved streets, and the bazaars buzzing with business, while the tall Friday mosque of exquisite design and other public buildings added to the grandeur of this great city. About a mile from the city is the Taj Mahal. Wow. The beautiful blossom in marble and precious stones, at the farther side of which the Jamuna is flowing by. The fine ornamentation being 17 years of patient labor of the cleverest workmen of the age in India, carving the marble into patterns as perfect as those of rare old lace and embroidery and setting in bits of semi-precious stones as a jeweler might set them in a casket. The whole snow white flower-like building is as perfect in detail as if it were a toy. And yet it is really a building of noble proportions. It stands 186 feet square. The graceful dome is 58 feet in diameter, and the slender minarets at the 4 corners of the platform are each 133 feet high. Most of the above has been extracted from a descriptive card. This dream in marble is too good to be a tomb of a queen. Such has never been witnessed over the remains of the greatest saints, kings, and warriors the world over. But it's more a monument of a great love, which is far greater than the white bubble of a dome.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, welcome. Beautiful description of Taj Mahal.